In this video, I'm going to talk about emotions and energies that get relegated outside of our bodies, and by that I mean what is conventionally thought of as the boundaries of our body, basically our skin. So there's something that I've been noticing a lot recently in myself and my energy work clients, that I would describe as energies and emotions that we get disconnected from. That's what I mean by relegated, like they're sort of exiled or relegated from the body, and we still carry them around with us, but like in our energy field, but outside of the quote unquote physical body. So it's like they get pushed further away from our central channel, and like maybe so they're distanced a couple feet from the body, say. So when I started noticing this in myself, it would happen when I would be talking to a friend. I would be like with a perceptive friend who I get along really well with, and the power of that connection and that chemistry would help make that feeling or that side of me that's typically inaccessible. There would be enough sort of power in that connection, enough presence there for me to just start to be like, wait, what is that thing? And for me, it was rage. It was like this suppressed rage, and I would find it right in front of my body. And yeah, it's a little hard to describe how I noticed it. I would just describe it as like just noticing this really subtle energy right in front of me. And often the way that is actually noticeable for me is if there's a slight change, like in my perceptual field, or like, for example, it happens with my ears sometimes too. All of a sudden, just the way I hear everything around me slightly shifts. So it's just like the felt sense is almost like the air right in front of my body changes a little bit. There's some kind of quality of it that suddenly shifts. Or another way is that my awareness just gets drawn there sort of inexplicably. Like all of a sudden I'm very aware of the space right in front of my body for some reason. And so then I tune into that and start to get a little more detail about it. Or it might actually even feel like a pulsation right in front of me. Like there's some vibration or throbbing or like a live feeling thing that I suddenly become aware of right in front of me. So yeah, I mentioned that for me that has most often been rage. Now that I have this pattern happen a lot where like I will onboard something in myself, in my personal practice, and then all of a sudden I'm just like noticing it with all of my clients. So this has been coming up a lot with energy work clients since then, and it's kind of a similar process with them where we will be doing energetic stuff, talking about it, feeling into it together, and then all of a sudden I get that sense of like something right in front of the body. And that's how I work as an energy worker. Like I get a lot of sense in my body that applies to the person I'm working with, so I can kind of translate it to them or describe it to them. So I will get a sense of something very near to the body, and the sense that I get is it's like something trying to come back in. It's like return home or something. It reminds me of things that I've read about shamanic soul retrieval. I'm not saying that it's that necessarily. I'm not saying it's that or it's not that, but it just strikes me as having a similar feeling of like, okay, this is the moment, this is the container, this is the connection, the chemistry, practitioner client or friend or whatever, where like it's time for this piece to come back, or this disparate energy to get reintegrated. I really get the sense that these energies could be anywhere. When you hear about shamanic soul retrieval, I mean, sometimes there has to be like a whole journey or like expedition to like a different realm or a different time and place or that kind of thing to retrieve something. When I've been doing this with people, it's just, at least the way that it shows up in that moment is just very near to the body. And for whatever reason, it seems like it's mostly been out in front of the body. And I don't think that that is the only place that it can be, but it's a really consistent pattern. And I would say that there are interesting little variations within that. Like, from what I recall, for me, the rage thing was most often like right around chest or stomach level, 6 inches or something from my body. At least that was where I sensed it being. And sometimes I'll sense something for somebody and it feels like I can feel it all the way from like the top of the head down to the waist or something. It's like I can just feel this large feeling energy there. And sometimes it's like more to the right or more to the left, or just seems smaller than that. Like I was saying, my thing felt a little smaller and like more localized near the chest area. So yeah, I recommend playing around with that if you're sort of developing your interoception, your somatic senses, your intuition about these things. I recommend getting practice feeling into the space around you, sort of letting that idea of what is your body and what's not your body fade a little bit, and see what you feel in these other spaces, especially when you're in a good connection with a really trustworthy, loving friend, or with a practitioner who you do somatic stuff with. Just notice if like, oh, something is showing up suddenly, and it'll be like a multi-step process in my experience. There's first the step of noticing that there's something there, and that's it's a bit opaque at that point. It's just like, oh, there's like, I can sense a vibration there, or a solid feeling thing there, and it's sort of asking for something. It's asking for that attention, presence, integration. And then the way that I do it for myself, and the way that I advise clients to do it, is sort of, yeah, it's really a feeling of allowing it back into the body. And yeah, that is a little harder to like specifically name what that means. I think that's a lot of this stuff is just a personal creative process of feeling out what that means, but it's sort of opening yourself to feeling something that might have been really hard to feel in the past, or that there might be friction in your being about feeling this, or identifying with it, or whatever that might be. So yeah, play around with the sensing and the integrating of that. I hope that's helpful. Let me know if there's any other energetic type phenomena that you'd like to see a video about.